New York skyscrapers don't sleep. Neither do the people clawing their way up inside them. I was one of them. 29, quiet, strategic. The kind of woman no one remembers at the end of a meeting but whose notes shape the next 5. I didn't wear bold lipstick. I didn't do networking drinks. But I read balance sheets like novels and knew how to see 3 moves ahead chess, not checkers. In a world of loud men in louder suits, I was the whisper that made things move. And I was building something real. Until he stole it. Logan Harrington, Senior VP, Legacy Hire, Harvard teeth and Madison Avenue charm. He shook hands like he owned your time and your silence. He mentored me, or at least, that's how it looked on paper. What it actually meant was, I worked till midnight. He added a sentence to my slides. He got the credit. For a year, I played the game, took the high road, believed in merit, until I built Nova, an internal AI tool that cut our client conversion time in half. I had every blueprint, every late-night prototype, every test metric. I scheduled a presentation with the executive board, and 3 days before it, Logan accidentally CC'd the CTO with the entire project rebranded under his name. I stood there as he presented my code, my name erased from the dev logs, my research reworded into his sleazy charm, my pitch delivered like a TED Talk he rehearsed in a mirror that only reflected his ego. The executives clapped, the CTO nodded, and my throat burned like I'd swallowed glass, but I smiled. Because that's what women like me do when their heart's breaking under fluorescent lighting. We smile, then we plan. The aftermath wasn't loud, it was polished. He got a promotion, a bonus, no tech, no AI, just spreadsheets and shadows, a fast-track path to COO. They offered me a new assignment, something high potential but far from the boardroom. You'll get exposure through him. When I asked about Nova, they said, Logan's leading now. Exposure. Like I was a virus under glass. I went home that night and cried in the elevator. Because I knew the cameras didn't work. But it only lasted 10 floors. By the time I reached mine, I had a plan. I didn't fight back, not right away. Instead, I fed the fire. I complimented Logan in meetings, sent him updated stats on his project, added final polish to his proposals. He began to trust me again, like a magician admiring his assistant without realizing she holds the blade. Meanwhile, I copied everything. The original time-stamped prototypes, Slack messages, development journals, even voice memos from our early calls, when he still referred to Nova as your idea. Every file was duplicated onto a private server, encrypted and buried deep. Not for something bigger. For 5 months, I watched him shine. He gave interviews, wrote op-eds, called himself the future of data-human synergy. I was background noise again, the quiet woman with perfect formatting and too few selfies. But I didn't mind. I was too busy preparing the projector. The office glittered like a snow globe of ambition. Interns laughed too loudly in elevators. Executives barked through Bluetooths. And Logan? He floated. He became the face of the firm's innovation wave. He signed NDAs like autographs and started dropping buzzwords like disruption and visionary. And I became invisible again. But this time, I wore the same gray blazer. I stopped going to team lunches. I answered only what I had to. I became an efficient ghost. I was quiet on purpose. Every day, because silence is how you disappear, but stillness is how you strike. When I'd hear my voice, his voice on a podcast promoting Nova, word for word from a speech I once practiced in my kitchen, it wasn't easy. There were moments where my resolve cracked. My hands would shake. I'd cry in the locked bathroom stall. Analysts, 2 senators, with tissue-stuffed big money, global licensing, buzz all over the fintech world, in my mouth so no one could hear. One time, I emailed our CEO anonymously with early time-stamped evidence. No reply. I realized they didn't care. The system wasn't broken. It was functioning exactly how it was built, to reward charisma over contribution. I wasn't just fighting Logan. I was fighting the culture that let Logan happen. And that meant one thing. I couldn't whisper the truth. I had to show it. Nova was going public. An IPO was being structured. And Logan naturally was leading the pitch. He was planning a closed-door showcase for international investors. The firm had booked a luxury conference suite downtown. Press were invited. He'd emailed the team. "It's the biggest moment of our company's decade. We go global now." It was the moment he'd built his entire career toward. And it was the moment I'd been waiting for. In the nights after work, I recoded Nova into a private clone stripped of company assets, but identical in structure. Not to leak it, but to prove I was the mind behind the machine. I added a feature only I knew how to build, something we never implemented. A breakthrough, a heartbeat, a dynamic ethics flag that calculated bias, drift, and decision-making real-time AI self-auditing. I wrote a memo. Voss, Nova's original integrity algorithm by concept originator, Maya L. I set it to trigger on startup. Then I waited. The big day. The conference suite buzzed with suits and screens. Confident, bronze, branded. Champagne flutes floated past, suits worth more than my entire student loan debt. Logan stood at the podium. I sat in the back row, clipboard in hand. Slides flicked past client metrics. Tech stack. Growth trajectory. Unnoticed like furniture. He started the pitch. Then came the product demo. He smiled, clicked, and the screen behind him flickered. Clean text. Logan turned, confused. A black banner at the top. Once, twice, then loaded. Not the branded interface, but mine. White screen. Core integrity algorithm triggered. Ethics mode enabled. A pause. The room quieted. Calm. Clipped. Voss. And then line by line the code's origin trail appeared. Every author tag. Every GE entry. Each one time-stamped. Each one signed. Maya L. Then the final line. This feature was conceptualized and deployed by Maya Voss on April 12, 11:47 p.m., 5 weeks before Logan ever touched the file. The room inhaled. He turned pale. I stood. Ladies and gentlemen, that line of code is patented under my name. It has never been shared. And today, you all saw it launch inside your product. Chaos. Executives whispering. Legal counsel texting. Investors asking questions Logan couldn't answer. Someone asked, why wasn't her name on the patent submission? I didn't speak. I let the silence ask for me. HR rushed over. Compliance followed. Logan tried to speak, but his words cracked under their own weight. Sweat blotched his collar. The final blow came from the CTO. Miss Voss, please stay. Mr. Harrington, you'll need to step outside with internal legal. We'll pause the session here. The boardroom emptied like a deflating balloon. Investors disappeared behind tinted SUV windows. Executives stayed behind closed doors. The news hadn't broken yet, but it would. Logan was escorted out, not arrested, not humiliated publicly, but his badge was deactivated, his company email revoked, his calendar cleared. The quiet version of corporate exile. I wasn't gloating, not yet. I had one more card, because I knew how these men survive fall upward, rebrand, move cities, reappear as consultants. But this time, she smiled like someone who thought I should be grateful. 2 days later, I was called into the CEO's office. A stunning view of the city spread out behind her like a weapon. We'd like to settle this. You're incredibly talented. Let's avoid escalation. She slid a folder toward me, a line added to Logan's exit. Departed for personal reasons, I'd be promoted. Silently, of course. $2.5 million. NDA. No mention of patent dispute. I stared at it. Then I said, I don't want the money. I want my name on the IPO. A beat. Excuse me? You heard me. I laid out the documentation again, cleaner this time, in a file branded with my own initials. Original Geet logs, the ethics code. Nobody else could have built my timestamp memo, a notarized backup saved to an external vault, screenshots of Slack conversations where Logan said Maya came up with that whole model. I'm just making it sellable. The CEO looked through it slowly. Then she asked quietly, "You planned this?" I leaned forward. "You didn't notice me for 2 years. That's on you. But you will remember me from here." 2 weeks later, it was done. Nova went public. NASDAQ screens glowed blue with white text. Nova, AI launching the future, powered by integrity. And just below, lead innovator, Maya L. Voss, not in footnotes, not in fine print, but sender screen, between the logo and the valuation number. Logan? He wasn't in the press release. A few blogs mentioned a mysterious leadership restructure, whispers about ethics violations, breach of IP law. Nothing confirmed. He reached out once, a text. "You really ruined me." I typed back, "No, I just turned the lights on. I didn't send it." I blocked the number. A week after the IPO, I was invited to speak at a Women in Tech Summit. I took the stage in a navy suit. No slides, just the truth. You don't have to scream to be powerful. You just have to be patient and precise. I was told to play the game, but I didn't play it. I rewrote it. The applause didn't sound like validation. It sounded like recognition. My new office wasn't a glass corner. It was a smaller room, down, a quieter hall, filled with engineers, interns, prototypes, and noise. The future being built by people who actually built things. I mentored in the way Logan never did. I asked more than I talked. I listened. I taught them how to watermark their code subtly, securely, because no one was going to steal their voices on my watch. One evening, I walked past a tech bar where a TV was playing some startup podcast. Logan was on screen, not as a guest, but as B-roll. The host said, "There's a lesson in every downfall, especially the quiet kind." I smiled to myself, because the world hadn't burned him. It had just forgotten him. And in a world obsessed with legacy, that was the sharpest cut of all.